Hello and welcome. Welcome to We Need a Village Again. We're Better Together, Winava, our 2025 virtual podcast for Black History. I'm entitling this particular podcast to speak to what I believe is an essential time and place for where we are in society, and that is honoring our history, leveraging our legacy to reshape our future. And I believe in our Black community and in our Black culture that we definitely need to give attention to reshaping our future, because it's our future, our children's generations, that we must become vanguards of. So with that, I'm Charlene Glover. I'm the founder and CEO of Winava, a Christian social justice organization, and I'm your host for the Black History Podcast. Thank you again for being here. At Winava, we are motivated by a divine vision to champion justice, educate and empower change makers, and lift up the underprivileged and the underserved and the marginalized in our community. Our mission is to be a voice to and for the voiceless. It's to be a bridge to opportunities and a force for generational transformation. We believe Psalm 82, 3 through 4 is a call to action. Give justice to the poor and the orphan, uphold the rights of the oppressed and destitute, rescue the poor and helpless, deliver them from the grasp of evil. So it's with that mentality and that conviction that we are presenting to you the 2025 Black History Program. We want to speak to and on behalf of those that may not have a voice, to understand that they do deserve a place in society, a place of significance. So if you're joining us for the very first time, again, welcome. I'm excited for those of you that have returned to take this journey with us as we commemorate Black legends while shaping our future with game-changing conversation, topics that we have selected to be able to educate and hopefully empower and call to action those that will have an ear to hear. So, Black history is not just Black history, it's American history. It's world history. Black History Month, typically we celebrate Black History Month in February of every year, is a time to honor the legends and unsung heroes, leaders, innovators, inventors, abolitionists, and civil rights leaders who paved the way for freedom, for justice, and for equality. Their resilience in overcoming major obstacles has left a lasting impact on our world. So we're honored by their sacrifices, and we honor their sacrifices and contributions by building forward to celebrate their legacies. With this conviction, we have curated this Black History program and the Black History podcast to be informative and to be educational and to challenge you to keep pushing forward for meaningful change today and for the generations to come. We began on February 4th, and I began that segment endeavoring to call our attention to the fact that we are our best leaders. We are our best leaders. African American people understand African American culture. Black people understand Black culture. Not that other people cannot facilitate, but we are our best leaders. And it's important to understand that we need a village again for a collective progress. On February 11th, we had an insightful conversation with David Goki, who emphasized the importance of having Black and Brown people, Christians, people of Christian faith, and people of all sectors of society to enter into and engage into the AI technology space. We want to bring our influence to technology as well. And today, in this segment, we're focusing on financial empowerment. We've titled this segment Money-Wise Education, Investigate Before You Invest. I'm delighted to have our special guest, Mr. Curtis Wright. But before we introduce him, I want to take a moment to spotlight two modern day Black tycoons, that is, wealthy, influential people in business. I want to spotlight them as successful Black leaders who have accumulated wealth, but they're also philanthropists. And that's none other than Mr. Eddie C. Brown and John Rogers. They're two highly influential African American investors and entrepreneurs known for their contributions to finance and philanthropy. Eddie C. Brown is the founder and chairman and CEO of Brown Capital Management, one of the oldest Black-owned asset management firms in the U.S. Established in 1983 and became a leading figure in small and mid-cap growth investing. He's a philanthropist. He and his wife, Sylvia Brown, have donated millions of dollars to education, including significant contributions to institutions like Johns Hopkins University. His journey from a segregated South to Wall Street success is an inspiring story and perseverance and financial acumen. The second spotlight is on John Rogers. John Rogers is the founder, chairman, and co-CEO of Ariel Investments, the first Black-owned mutual fund company in the U.S. established in 1983. A longtime advocate for financial literacy and increasing Black participating in investing. He served on various corporate boards and was a key advisor to President Obama on economic policies. His investment philosophy focuses on patient, value-based investing, and Ariel Investment manages billions in assets. So we have in our history and in our culture before them others, Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was met with tragedy because Black people wanted to be a part of society and make a contribution and display our talents and our gifts and care for the well-being of our families, our loved ones, and our community. Unfortunately, we're often met with resistance, but we are resilient by the power and grace of Almighty God. And today, I have the privilege and the honor of having Mr. Curtis Wright, who is our guest today. Mr. Curtis Wright, I welcome you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Mr. Curtis Wright is the founder and the principal of Wright Financial Group, partners working for a secure future. He's the owner of Wright Financial Group, LLC in Smyrna, Georgia. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it, Mr. Curtis, for you joining us in this Black History podcast.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you. Let me share a little bit about Mr. Curtis and about Wright Financial Group. Mr. Curtis has over 47 years of experience in the insurance and financial services industry. 25 years was spent as a corporate sales executive with a Fortune 100 insurance and financial service company. The last 22 years have been spent as the principal and owner of the Wright Financial Group, a financial services firm. He specializes in assisting individuals and businesses in protecting, managing, and developing their financial assets. Curtis's objective is to form long-lasting partnerships with his clients to help them make informed financial decisions and provide extraordinary service experience for them. And I can say this, he and his wife are people of integrity. You would not be hesitant to do business with Wright Financial Group. Mr. Curtis has a bachelor's degree in business, insurance, and risk management from the University of Florida. He holds the certified financial planner and life underwriters training council fellowship designations and is a registered securities advisor supporting clients in 11 states. Curtis is married to Courtney. They have 4 children and have lived in Mapleton, Georgia for the past 22 years. Curtis is an ordained deacon at Word of Faith Family Worship Cathedral in Austell, Georgia, where he and Courtney are covenant members. Mr. Curtis, it's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to dive right into the conversation, and I know that we're going to be educated, we're going to be illuminated, and we're going to be inspired to put our business in order so that we can begin to be kingdom dwellers in the realm of finances. Let me lead off with this. As seasoned believers in Christ, we know that biblical wisdom is the foundation of true prosperity. How blessed is it for our audience to gain such practical insight, biblical wisdom from your expertise and your firsthand experience to empower them to become money wise. Thank you. I appreciate what you're about to contribute. So let's just begin with this. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, according to 1 Timothy 6:10a. Now, many times people say, well, if you're going to serve God, then you can't have money. And then you have people who serve God and they serve him for money. But there's a balance in that. Mr. Curtis, can you lead off by explaining to our listeners what's the difference between the biblical principle of accumulating wealth and greed?
Yeah. So the First Timothy talks about, like you say, that it's the love of money, not the money itself. And sometimes we confuse the two, that we can't have money, that we can't accumulate wealth. And God has talked about there will be no idols other than me. And First Timothy just basically says, don't put me behind anything else. God is saying that. And it's the love of money. And money itself does great things. And one of the reasons I'm in this profession is because I want to see our communities grow. And the answer to most of our problems, we have the answers already. And that takes money. As I've said many a times, salvation is free, but everything else costs money. And like saying, sometimes it's the knowledge of what we do with that money. We can do good with it. We can do evil with it. And again, First Timothy is trying to guide us toward doing good things with our money so that we can help other people, help those who need us.
Excellent, excellent. So it's not necessarily wrong to have money. It's the love of money. It's in
Right.
pursuit of having something to do something rather than be of service to the Lord or service to other people. So the love of money is the root of all evil. Money has no evil to it. It's determined by the hands that it's in. Is that right?
That is correct. Very good.
Okay,
That's
good.
right.
Well, let's start with our questions and our dialogue so that we can educate our listeners. Historically,
Yes,
we have seen some of the biggest barriers to Black wealth and accumulation in America through all kinds of systemic influence, redlining, and not being able to have equal opportunities for loans or business opportunities. Would you speak to the fact that there are barriers, and those barriers are not just pretentious, they are real barriers that we have to deal with in the Black community as it relates to money? In addition to some of our decisions, there are true barriers. Would you speak to that, please?
yeah. And again, we first of all, happy Black History Month, as Pastor Glover has said that Black History Month has been with us for a while, since 1926. And some of the barriers that we run into are barriers that, the good news, we can correct some of them, and it's knowledge. And if you go back to slavery time, one of the things that we were prevented from doing was reading. Why? Because reading provided knowledge, provided us to make decisions. So I think there's probably 3 big things that prevent us. There are barriers. It's the knowledge. And sometimes that knowledge, we've got to go get it. We've got to go pick up a book. We've got to go out to a website is planning, put together a plan. We all do a pretty good job. If it was Sunday after church, we'll plan where we're going to go eat at. But we should do the same thing with our money. And then the last one is access to products. And the two gentlemen that we talked about in the beginning, Mr. Rogers and Mr. Brown, what they've done and why they did what they did was to provide their communities access to products. The products are not new, but we just didn't have access and could not come to the table on our end. So.
Okay. So people don't recognize that some of the barriers that we deal with go all the way back to slavery. So people would say, well, that's been, slavery's been a long time ago. Yes, chattel slavery was a long time ago. However, we're still dealing with the residual effect of that generationally, because if we had forefathers, our great-great-grandparents that wasn't able to read or to learn or didn't have access to proper information, they couldn't pass that on as many other people groups do. So we do have those barriers, but we can overcome those barriers. You said that's good news, and we can. So let me ask you the next question. In addition to consumerism, how much do you think that redlining, Jim Crow, and discriminatory lending practices still impact Black generational wealth? Do you believe that today we're still being impacted and accumulating wealth as every other people group would be because of those systemic oppressive practices?
I think those are still there, and it's taken a new form from my point of view, and that's your voting districts, and where voting districts have been changed around so that we don't have the power in our own communities, and we just don't have representation at the table. And that's the key, is when we need to be at the table to make decisions. I think there's still things redlining, and I always tell people we're all prejudiced about something. So prejudice has not gone away, won't ever go away, but we have to make sure that we have a voice at the table. We can make some of those decisions that need to be made for our communities. And as we do things in our community, it spreads over to other communities. It spreads over to the country, spreads over to the world, so that we can not only represent ourselves, but we can represent others.
Excellent, excellent. You said something that I don't think most people have ever thought about, Mr. Curtis, and that is that when we don't have a seat at the table in our local communities all the way up to the federal government, that we don't have proper representation. And without proper representation, we don't always get the proper information. And without that, we can't engage and be productive, or as productive as we'd like to be or need to be, because we're shut out by ignorance or lack of being aware that things exist. So that's very important. And I'm glad you tied that into the fact that our ability to be able to sit at a table and be properly represented or represent people properly also has to do with our ability to accumulate generational wealth and pass on to our children and our children's children. So thank you for that. So what financial lessons can we learn from historical Black economic movements? Black Wall Street comes to my mind. That was a movement. Are there anything, highlights that you can point out for us that we may be able to learn?
Yeah, so as you look at Black Wall Street, there was multiple Black Wall Streets around the country in the late teens, early 20s. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia area. Atlanta was one of those centers of wealth. There were places like Wilmington, North Carolina. There was Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And some of those things that I think that we have to do a better job of is supporting our own community, our own business owners, because those are the people who understand the community. They understand where we've been and where we're trying to go. And then use the power of the dollar. And again, this number will be all over the place, but they say that the Jewish community, a dollar circulates 6 to 7 times inside their community before it goes out of their community. For our community, African American community, it's about maybe 1 to 2 times before it goes someplace else. So in the late 50s, early 60s, we had no choice because we couldn't go anyplace else to shop or buy, and we lost a little bit of that in over the years, where we don't support our own communities as well as we should. And what I have found is products that are offered by our community are just as good as any products offered by anyone else. And again, those people understand where we've been and where we're trying to go. So, and a piece of that is understanding Jesus and what Jesus talked about. If we go into the Bible, 2,300 verses in the Bible deal with money. So even Jesus thought it was important. Money was an important subject. 16 out of the 39 or 38 parables talked about money. So again, one of the things that I do from time to time is I go back to the Bible and say, what would Jesus tell me to do? So most of us have a kind of a guidebook, and it's right there, hopefully on our nightstand someplace.
Oh, excellent. That's very good. And the point you made there is that when we pre-civil rights and even during that fight, oftentimes we were kind of confined to our communities. And I read somewhere that in Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and probably the same in Atlanta and Wilmington, that the black dollar circulated within the community 4 or 5 times before it left.
Right.
Kind of comparable to the Jewish community. However, after we had latitude to move out of our communities and extend our reach, our dollar also left the community. The other good thing I think that you highlighted is that we knew how to sew back into the support system of our community. And so our social justice ministry is, we need a village again. We need a village again. We're better together. And I really believe our collective progress has to do with us coming back together as an African-American people who are under duress and stressors right now, and recognize that together we are better. We can be supporters of our education systems, of our financial systems, so on and so forth. So thank you for that. I appreciate your insight there. What are some common misconceptions about building wealth in Black communities?
I think one of the things that hurts us from time to time is get rich quick schemes. And it's,
would you say that again?
Yeah, it's everything from multi-level marketing to getting the latest hookup. And sometimes those things hurt us more than they help us. And in my industry, they're Ponzi schemes. So, and as Pastor said, investigate before you invest. And then the old thing that I grew up hearing all the time was anything that's too good to be true is normally too good to be true. So we have to be careful. And that goes back to the knowledge piece of making sure we do the investigating beforehand. We've got tools. When I grew up, anytime I needed to know anything, I had to go to the encyclopedia that every family seemed like they had in their house someplace, and hope I could find what I'm looking for. Now with the power of technology, we can go out and search just about anything that could be searched there. So, and again, it's having a plan and following that plan. And if you do that, it tends to keep you on track, keep you on course, so that you don't fall into some of those traps of whatever the latest thing. In the late 1700s, it was the big craze was tulips. And so tulips, the price of tulips the price was driven up very high. And then at some point it collapsed. And so all those people who had invested in tulips and buying tulips, they lost a great deal of money. So and again, we've got things like that today. And You see them all over the place. So as I get into this, I'm a financial advisor with Cetera Advisor Networks. And so as I go through answering some of the questions, keep in mind I'm not giving a recommendation to buy or sell, just knowledge. And I'm a person, my process that I use with new clients and existing clients is that you knowledge that you didn't have, so that if tomorrow I disappear, you're a little smarter than you were the day before. So
That's excellent, because this is an educational forum. It's not an advisement. Your information will be made available for anybody who wants to seek you out to secure your services as a financial advisor. But yes, today is about educating us so we're not taken advantage of and we don't make bad money decisions and find ourselves at a loss. So thank you.
you're welcome.
What are the top 3 financial habits that can help an individual break cycles of debt and create generational wealth? Because that's also very, very stronghold in the Black community is debt.
Yep. So I'm going to pass to throw a fourth one in there, and the fourth one is it's right at the top, and it's pay God first. And our religious beliefs are so strong that during slavery, one of the things that the slave masters wanted to make sure that we didn't do is gather on Sunday, and for various reasons, religious, because they knew that we would learn to read, we would also learn other things. But so pay God first, and I'm a believer that all of the money is God's, and God has been nice enough to give us, 90% to go do the things we're doing. But getting back to the top 3 is creating and having a plan. So plan where you're trying to go so that when you get there, it was no surprise. You knew that you were going to that place and going to get to that place, and then do the course corrections. As I tell clients, the one thing I bring to the table is no emotions. So what I'm able to do is sit down and evaluate without worrying about if the dollar's up or down, the stock market's up, down, or sideways, if it's technology or it's crypto. I'm looking at it very objectively. Pay yourself first. All of us work very hard, and we want to make sure that we do something to reward ourselves. As I tell people, there hasn't been a Brinks truck following the hearse to the cemetery yet, and probably won't be one. So make sure that you enjoy life there. And then the last one is we talk about legacy, and we talk about our children and grandchildren, is teach your kids and your family, and make sure that they understand what you're doing and why they're doing it. I grew up in a era where the only time the parents spoke to you is when they wanted to hear you speak. And now I think we have an opportunity to sit down at the kitchen table and talk about money. And sometimes we don't talk about it as much as we should. But again, teach your kids money, the value of money, and how to save it, how to share it with other people, and part of that is how to give it to those who are not as fortunate as us. So
That's very, very good. Carrying on the legacy of knowledge and information to enrich our generations is powerful, and having those conversations about money management and being able to save and accumulate wealth. And I like the way you started off. You said, pay God first. I've been saved for 46 years this year. I learned the principle of tithing and giving, and it is an innate part of how I live. I came to not just my giving, my whole recognition about money is that everything I have belongs to the Lord, and He has a right to anything I have, and He has a right to my money. And I have found, Mr. Curtis, in everything I've done, God has always been the source. And I read something early this morning, just picked up my Bible, and it says that he who has vision to serve others will always have resources to do it.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? So
Right.
I appreciate those points of insight for us, and I do think that it is germane to our community to have debt because of the disadvantages we've had, but we don't have to stay there. We can educate
Right.
and we can activate to change that landscape in our lives. So, what financial red flags should people watch out for? You mentioned the Ponzi scheme, the get rich quick, but there are other things that are and I noticed it when you go into certain communities, there's certain businesses established in some communities that you won't even find in others. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Uh, and again, to me, everything goes back to the knowledge, doing the research to understand what you're looking at and why it's that particular way. And again, by major corporations, they do a little bit of selected providing tools and information and products to you, depending on what side of town we may and may not be on. So some of that is because of theft may be higher in one place than another, but it's just making sure that we understand why we're doing it and be a be a good steward of your own money. And part of that being a good steward of your own money is understanding what you're buying and why you're buying it, and make sure that you shop at places that support you and your causes, whatever your cause is, whatever your beliefs are. And sometimes we provide money and wealth to other communities, but not our own. I'll at one point I lived in Chicago and went to church there, and the pastor of the church uh, was telling the congregation that later today that there was going to be a festival, and that festival, a lot of people wanted to get out of church early so they could get to the festival early. And he mentioned to him, he says, be careful. I'm not saying you can't go to the festival, but understand the person who is doing this festival does not own the festival. They are just a person that is involved in it. The money and is going to go back to Texas. So that's who owns the rights to this. And he says, just understand, if you spend all of your paycheck, none of it goes to supporting our community. It goes to
Wow.
supporting another community, one in Texas. And again, he just said, understand where your dollar is going. And sometimes a successful, in this case, festival is not benefiting us as much as it would if it were a festival that was done here in this case, Chicago. So
That's a good point because a lot of times in our culture, we are given to entertainment. And I've learned over the years, it's because we look to entertainment as a way of relief. It kind of
right.
fills the vacuum for other things that we may be missing or feel that we're missing. And we spend a lot of money on entertainment, but there's no contribution to anything that's going to give a return back to our community, to our children, or to the advancement of maybe what we believe in. So that's a very good point. Can you recommend any books or apps or any resources that people can use for those kitchen table conversations with their family,
Yeah.
their children?
Yeah. So I'm a old school person that likes that feel of that book in my hand. And there's three books that recently yeah, I've read. One is Think and Grow Rich. And the original Think and Grow Rich was by Napoleon Hill. But there's one that you may have a hard time finding this. It's called Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And a gentleman by the name of Dennis Kimbro and Napoleon Hill wrote the book, and primarily it's Dennis Kimbro that wrote it. And he talks about some of the things that we've talked about today. Go find role models that are doing what you're trying to do. And if that's in the technology field, if that's in the business field, if it's the religious field, but find people and find good role models that you can follow as an example. Another one, again, keep in mind the world I live in is called the little book of behavioral investing. And we sometimes invest out of emotion, and we become our own worst enemy. We we all know the answer to the equation is buy low, sell high. But what do? We buy high, we sell low. And that is the emotional piece of us that makes us run from fear. And some of the statistics have shown that fear is twice as intense as the pleasure of winning. So what happens if the stock market goes down? What do we all want to do? We want to sell, and we want to put it in cash under the mattress. And unfortunately, what Wall Street and successful firms do is they do the exact opposite. And then they have something that sometimes we like, and that's patience. They know that it's not going to happen just because I bought it 5 seconds ago and now it should be up. So, but that's again the little book of behavioral investing by a gentleman by the name of James Montier. And then the last one, we've talked around this a little bit already, but it's Managing God's Money, and is the name of the book. And a gentleman by the name of Randy Alcorn, and he talks about what are those things that we should be doing with God's money and not our money to end up blessing ourselves greater than if we do. I'm one of those people that learned over time that God can open doors far bigger than I can even get near. And that's what's happened to me in my life as I understood that concept. And sometimes we, especially as men, we want to say, well, I'm strong enough, I can do it by myself. And I was guilty of that too at one point. And I've learned now patience and let God do what God does, which is far better than anything I could do. So.
Outstanding. Thank you for those resources. I'm surprised I have not heard of either book, but I will definitely be adding them to my library.
All right.
Thank you for that. What's one piece of financial advice you wish you had learned earlier in life? You've been in the financial arena for decades now, but what is it that you can look back and say, man, I wish I had learned this earlier in life?
Yeah, so I tell people, what would the older you tell the younger you to do? So if I could go 30 years into the future, what would that person tell the Curtis Wright of today to do? And I think that person would tell me a couple of things. One, you're going to live longer than you think. So whatever that day that you think is your last day. And then I would hope that person would tell me, save, save, save. And then the last piece would be kind to others. But again, what would that, and each of you have a vision of what that older person would do, but what would that older person tell the younger person to do? And again, if you do it right, then you're probably in good shape. We have talk about Social Security changing. Some of you are at an age where Social Security will change over the years. And again, we want to make sure that we're not so dependent on that. So save, invest, and do things for the long term and for the short term. So you want to have things like an emergency fund, just in case you blow a tire out. You don't have to go down and do a payday loan that some of those are 20 and 30% interest rates. So I used to work for an insurance company that was owned by Sears Roebuck, a company that does not exist anymore. And one of the things, the Sears credit card had an interest rate of anywhere from 30 to 35%. So you could almost never get out of debt because of that interest accumulating on you. So
that's money that could be saved on that, right?
That's right. That's right.
Wow. Thank you. If you had to give one golden rule of financial success, I think I heard a number of your golden rules, but what would that one golden rule be for financial success? What would you tell people the golden rule of financial success is?
It's the story of the tortoise and the hare again. And we want to be like the tortoise. Go slow and think about it before you go do it. So, and I see so many people they react, and you don't want to react to money, to investments, things of that sort, because they can change. But it's do your homework, put together a plan, save, manage your money. Some of you may need to get someone as an outside advisor to help you with that process. Some of you will not, but have a plan. And then one of the things in Think and Grow Rich, a book that Napoleon Hill wrote, he talked about the power of the mastermind group. And the mastermind group was surrounding yourself with people who had the knowledge and could help balance us out. So
Okay, that's good. Thank you. That's good insight. Well, in addition to your golden rule, words of wisdom or encouragement that you could offer to those that may be really anxious right now, feeling fearful about job cuts, Social Security changes, just a lot of changes and a lot of chaos that's in our world and in our country today. What would you say to those that are feeling a sense of uncertainty and fear?
yeah, so this will be tough for some people. Is turn the TV off and disconnect from social media a little bit. The statistics have shown that most of the information that we get, even from our local news, 80% of it has a negative slant to it. And by having a negative slant, what ends up happening, we absorb it, we hear it, and then we feel helpless because we can't do anything about it. And I think we're in kind of those times right now. We're watching things happen. So, disconnect from some of those items. And then for those who are looking for jobs or preparing to look for jobs, go and enhance your skills. Get yourself where that you have the skills of the future, not the skills of the past. Some of those things are gone. As they say, the buggy whip makers are gone. They'll probably never come back again. So it's artificial intelligence is, what does the world need tomorrow? So one of the reasons I do what I'm doing today, 22 years ago, after I left a Fortune 100 company, I sat down and said, what is it that people need? And one of the things I landed on was that they will need help managing and investing their money. Why? I'm a baby boomer. So baby boomers are all of those people that were born after World War II, and there was about 80 million of us that were born. We were the first generation to have 401k plans and retirement plans at work. And what companies did was they provided those tools for us and those options, but they didn't tell us how to work them. And so now people retire, they don't know what to do with their money, and because they're used to saving, not spending or managing their money. So again, just take the time, step back, and like I say, disconnect from some of the voices that are always telling you the world is coming to an end. So I'm a believer that the world will do just fine. Is one of the gentlemen I worked for a long time ago. Anytime he saw me getting a little anxious, he would say, "Tiger, this too shall pass. This too shall pass," and it will. And like I say, make sure that as you come out the other end, you have the skill sets to do it. And that's what, as we go back to the 20s, 30s, 40s, that's what our communities knew, that if it was going to be done, they had to do it. And they created, major Wall Streets all over the country. And again, if you go back and read in history, we became so powerful that other communities did not like the success that we had. I think we can do that again if we want to. Our dollar and putting it in places that will have an effect on the future and the present. So.
Oh, that's powerful. What if we had a strategizing village of community people, that leaders like yourself and others who could help us create a strategy for the Black community? Because I was listening to something by Dr. Frazier, and I am thoroughly convinced. I'm a baby boomer as well. that there's no Calvary coming. There's nobody coming to save us or rescue us. We have a Savior, Jesus Christ, and then we have ourselves, and our children's future is at stake if we don't come together and create a strategic plan as they did many years ago. I mean, in every generation, we've had major movements and significant legendary leaders that were and are brilliant and insightful with money and inventions and innovations. It's within us. We have that God DNA innately within us. We just gotta, I pray the pressure that's on the world and the pressure that's on the US and the pressure that's on the Black community in particularly will cause us to rise up. And then I always believe man's extremity is God's opportunity. So we do all we can do, then God will step in and do what he can do to empower us. Mr. Curtis, this has been so delightful. Thank you for being
Thank you very much.
A practical. I like the fact you start off by saying, when you meet with me, I'm not emotional. I love it because when you are well informed and well prepared, you don't have to have hype and you don't have to have anxiety. You can be balanced. And so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Kofi Annan said, knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress in every society, in every family. Mr. Curtis, thank you so much. Your voice has added value to our Black History podcast. You have, I'm sure, illuminated and empowered our listeners. And I'm definitely awakened to some information that I didn't have privy to. So God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And grace and favor of God be upon you and Courtney and your household and all of your endeavors. And would you continue to be one of those leading leaders for us to help us understand not only how to manage money, that's important, but how to make money so that we are in the game, we're in a game-changing situation and not just letting people change the game on us. Thank you for that. For those of you, thank you. For those of you that are interested in contacting Mr. Curtis, he is a financial advisor. As he stated, he's a certified financial planner, a financial advisor. He is the principal owner of Wright Financial Group, LLC, and we have his address and information online here that you can see that. I certainly hope if you're looking for a credible financial advisor, I would highly recommend Mr. Curtis Wright. And we have no agreement other than brotherly love in the faith. So this is not a promotion for anything to be received except for a promotion to bring value to you and your family in your household. So, Mr. Wright, we're going to close this segment out. Thank you again. We appreciate your time, your patience, and we appreciate your professionalism and the expert knowledge that you have shared with us today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. God bless you and all of your listeners there.
Thank you, sir. I want to invite you to join us next week. Tuesday, February 25th is our closeout for Black History Month, and we will have Dr. Jay Barnett, our speaker. He's a speaker, author, and a mental health coach, and the catalyst for the 2024 Just Heal Bro Global Tour. We want to invite you to join us again. Also, if you've been benefited by this time, I want to ask you to like, to share, and to subscribe to our social media platforms that you can continue to be informed and stay connected. And then if this particular podcast or any information that we are communicating and sharing with you, if you find it beneficial, you find it educational and informative, consider donating to We Need a Village Again. We are a nonprofit supporting agency and organization, and your contribution would help us reach those that are voiceless. Give them a voice and be a voice for them. So would you plan on joining us again and sharing with those that you know that need to be educated, that need to be equipped, that need to be empowered, and who are ready to mobilize in a call of action to change the game for the African American community. Thank you for being with us. You've been listening to We Need a Village Again. We're better together, Wanava. We appreciate the privilege of your time. God bless.
We Need a Village Again, Wanava presents the 2025 Virtual Black History Program. Honoring our history, leveraging our legacy to reshape our future. This is more than a celebration. We aim to spark a movement to rebuild, heal, and empower. We must reestablish our village to protect our legacy and secure our future. Feature topics. We are our best leaders. Mental and physical health, the foundation for holistic well-being. Education to shape legacy leaders. And AI technology and how it impacts you. We are honored to feature our special guest, Dr. J, an acclaimed mental health coach, author, and speaker. Dr. J is the driving force behind the 2024 Just Heal Bro Black Male Mental Health Global Tour. His transformative message will equip and inspire you to rise above challenges and step boldly into purpose. Event details. Date, Tuesdays, February 4th through 25th, 2025. Time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Where? Virtual, streamed live. Join us for a powerful Black history experience designed to uplift, educate, and ignite action. Gain meaningful insights and practical strategies to improve your well-being and empower your community. We need a village again. We're better together. Let's preserve our legacy and lead the way into our future together.